Mango back with another podcast. We have our co-host Geummy again. How you doing, Geummy?
Hey, I'm great.
I'm doing
How
amazing.
Are you?
I mean, we have Coopah the Trooper here.
Yay.
The NFT god, the NFT music god. How do you?
His words, not mine.
All right.
I mean, Coopah is this now president and founder of Coopah. Like I like to say, entertainment and whole company. Like you are a brand in itself.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Coopah. I'm a founder of a venture fund called Coop Records. I'm a collector of music NFTs and an advocate for the Web3 space.
Amazing.
So let's get in a little bit about music NFTs. I think we should just jump right into it because I have not a clue about music NFTs, and I would love to learn a little bit about how they work in that the side of the industry. So I mean, the people listening in may not know a ton either. So just explain, a little bit about music NFTs.
Sure. So I'd say music NFTs are collectible versions of songs. We had CDs and vinyls, and now we have music NFTs.
Amazing. You said it so eloquently.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So tell me, when did you get into Web3?
I got into Web3 2017. I was coming out of school, basically studying music business. Didn't really love.
So you were in music way before?
Yeah, like 5 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But there was just never any market for music in Web3. Like it was always like two different lives. And then I was coming out of school and I was like, I don't want to work in traditional music industry. I don't want to be a cog in a machine.
Don't blame you.
Create my own path. And so started working in crypto in 2017 during the whole ICO era. Had absolutely nothing to do with music, but was paying the bills by working in crypto and then just going to concerts on the side.
What does it mean by working in crypto?
Yeah. How are you working in crypto?
Basically just helping projects figure out their strategy and roadmaps. I was a community manager, an advisor and a project manager. So a founder would come to me and basically I want to raise $20 million in an ICO, but I have absolutely no clue what's happening in the market. Can you put me on game? And then we would just hop on calls and I would just be like, yo, you should not raise $20 million. You have no clue what you're doing. And then, quite honestly, I wasn't getting paid a lot, if anything at the time. It was just me getting exposure in the space, meeting people, trying to get a couple $1,000s here and there to write a white paper. But that was long before I ever made any money in the space. I was trading public markets on exchanges like Coinbase or Binance or something like that, and just getting familiar with the game and meeting people on Twitter. And then slowly but surely, all this kind of came to fruition over the next couple of years.
And how old were you at this time?
I was probably 21 coming out of college.
So you're 21 and you have these executives coming to you and be like, hey, should I invest $20 million? They're asking you for advice. How did you even position yourself to do that?
Well, it's important to add some context. They didn't ask me how to invest $20 million. They had $0 and they were trying to get $20 million in investment.
Oh, got it, yeah.
Very different situation. I was basically just giving them street cred or what people were saying on the ground floor. So people on Twitter, what they were talking about, what are the sites to be on, what are the projects to keep up with, nothing too crazy, but just giving them context because these founders just saw this shiny object that was selling a token and then wanted to figure out how to actually make that valuable.
Explain to us what's Sound XYZ.
Sound XYZ is SoundCloud or Spotify.
I didn't know what Sound XYZ was until maybe a month ago.
Yeah, I mean it's super new, so I don't blame you at all, but I'd say there's SoundCloud and then there's Spotify and now I think there's Sound XYZ, and it's basically the next generation of artists that are uploading their songs as NFTs for people like me to collect.
Oh wow, dope. So did you meet their team and everything? That's how you got on there, or you just can you just go on there and put your own music, or do you have to have Spotify have a deal with them?
You don't have to have a deal with them, but Sound's a very curated platform right now, so you almost have to be approved to be able to release your music on there. Okay. And so across the whole platform, there's 150 artists on there. It's a very slow burn where they're doing a couple songs a week. Spotify has 85,000 songs a week. Sound has 5 songs a week. Yeah. And so it's a much smaller market with a lot more focus on the artists.
Yeah, it sounds like a huge opportunity. So if you're an artist, if you're a musician, just starting out or, have a great brand already in Web2, how do you get into Web3?
You just join Twitter and then just follow people and figure out what the hell is going on for probably the first month or two.
Yeah.
And then
so what did you do?
What did I do?
Yeah.
I went on Twitter and figured out what the hell was going on. I followed a bunch of people, just kind of got a vibe for the whole space. And then after you kind of feel confident about knowing what the market is like, then I started experimenting with my own projects and working with other founders.
So are you giving advice to artists right now to just take the leap and just experiment, see what works, see what doesn't in the space?
Yeah, I mean, broadly, I would say first just start investing your time and get a feel for the artists that are using these platforms, the type of music that's being released. Before you ever drop an NFT, being able to go on sound and like understand why one artist is doing better than another. That's like a very simple thing to do that requires no money. But I'd say broadly, I like the Web3 music space because it feels a lot like early SoundCloud, where people are kind of uploading without a huge process behind it.
Yeah.
And like a lot of Spotify now is like, you sign a deal with a distributor or label, like your music comes out 10 years in the future and then you don't drop again for like another 10 years. Versus like Web3 music, I think the mentality is more like, hey, I made a track last night. I think this is really cool. I'm gonna sell it tomorrow. 25 people can collect it. And oh, by the way, those 25 people collecting it is giving me more money than I would get from 1 million streams on Spotify.
So if you are, speaking to a musician, how would you explain how Web3 and the blockchain and what's happening, what's being built in Web3 can empower musicians?
It's just a change in mentality. To me, Web2 is about like quantity of eyeballs, number of impressions, etc. Like Web3 is really about the quality of your relationship with each individual collector. And so it's just highlighting that you don't need 1 million fans to make a living. If you can find 100 people that come and support you by buying your NFTs, you can have a very successful career.
What's the biggest comparison from the Web2 Web3 artist world?
It's an entirely new world. So everyone starts from square one. Like even if you have 10 million monthly listeners on Spotify, like you're basically starting from scratch with Web3. And so it's like an even playing field. And so I think that it's very empowering for independent artists and people that don't have a huge following so far. And then for existing artists that have a big demographic, it gives you a chance to go a lot deeper with a specific subset of collectors that are a lot more interested in your music and a lot more, able to help contribute in ways that feel valuable to your project as a whole. I normally work with artists is helping them build product around their releases. So if I'm putting out a song, I talk to them about what site should we use, how many editions should we drop, what price should we drop it at. We think about like, how do we engage collectors? How do we put them all into group chats together? And then for the bigger artists that are in this space, it's like, hey, we want to put an album in Web3. What does that look like? Let's build a custom site for you. Let's build our own smart contracts. And then let's kind of do something that's a little bit more forward thinking than just like releasing a song with a limited number of editions.
Do you work with an agency when building this out?
No, I just do it all myself and with my friends.
You do it all yourself?
What?
Like I don't develop everything, but like I just have friends that,
Who are your friends?
I mean, shout out to companies like Bonfire, IndieDAO. There's just a handful of developers that are really excited about the future of Web3 music, and they can, really move the needle a lot by standing up a landing page that you can go and press a button to mint a music NFT on.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty forward right now. It's not like a huge lift, but the simple act of going to like artist.xyz and then hitting the homepage and pressing like the mint button to buy their next song that just came out on Spotify.
Yeah.
That's like basically as forward thinking as it gets right now.
Nice. How did you forge these relationships? Like when you're, it sounds like you have awesome friends.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just like, it's a small world out there. I've been in Web3 for 5 years. I think the people that have stuck around for 5 years kind of see each other doing great work and consistently adapting to the market. And so it's not like I did anything special. I was just showing up consistently for a very long time, and people just sort of raise their hand naturally once they see that you're kind of in it for the long term.
Yeah, I mean, we have just met, I think, almost a year ago. This is our 11th. I think it's like 11
it's
months.
Been a year? You guys known each other for a year?
Yeah, we've known each other for a year
wow.
now. Yeah, and it's just so amazing how from like last year, like into what happened in 1 year, so much has happened.
Yeah.
I mean,
What were you doing last year at this time? What were you doing?
Probably just like buying CryptoPunks and apes and flipping NFTs.
So do you have CryptoPunks?
No, I sold my punk. I bought it for 1 ETH and I sold it for like 80 ETH or something.
Oh, that's a big come up. Damn. So what's your favorite NFT project right now?
Honestly, just all the music NFTs I'm collecting. There's artists like Daniel Allen and Rio Cragen and a couple other people who are like really forming the next generation of music, and I'm supporting them every step along the way.
So what is your perspective on everything that's going on with the market right now? Is it benefiting you? Is it helping you? Because I mean, to me, it's time to build. It's time to learn. I don't know anything really about music NFTs, so I don't know how that world works. Mm-hmm. So definitely want to know your perspective on how the market is affecting you.
Yeah, I would say the one word I would use is focus. I think a lot of people get very distracted during a bull market because there's a million projects popping up every day. There's always a new hot trend. During the bear market, the people who are just here to make a quick buck largely leave, and then what's left is people that want to try and develop long-term strategies and playbooks. And so for me, on a given day, there's an artist or two dropping on Sound XYZ. They're putting out 25 editions at $20 each. They're making like $1,000 per song, and then using that money to basically market their music on Spotify. And so like the size and scope of these projects has come a lot more down to earth. Like a collection now will net $1,000, $2,000, which is
So was
very
it like
different.
crazy high volume when it was the upbringing? Like, was it?
Not really.
No?
I mean, like the whole music NFT space has probably existed for only like a year at this point, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, I could give like context on the 5-year development of music in Web3, but I'd say like the quote unquote music NFT community has only been around for like 6 to 12 months. And at its peak, they were probably doing like, collections were netting like 10 to 20 ETH a piece, but it's never gotten much bigger than that. And that's why I'm excited about it, because it's like a very new chapter and there wasn't like a lot of baggage from like there being 10 multi-million-dollar sales. Like it's very much like a new pocket of culture that's only really started to develop during the bear market.
Ooh, okay. So, yeah.
Oh, I was just going to ask you, Coopah, you're a very technical person, and you're exposed to a lot of up and coming projects. Like you have some cool friends out there. What are some technology that you can kind of explain and with our audience, and also what kind of technology are you excited for that's going to really better like the creative ecosystem?
I think most of it already exists. I mean, I think the simple act of like downloading a wallet and understanding what that is, like you had email in Web2 and now you have a wallet in Web3. That's kind of like the most forward-thinking thing you need to know. Being able to like buy a token like ETH and use that to buy NFTs, like that's already a pretty hard process. So I actually don't think we need anything net new right now. I think we just need to make it easier to use the tools that already exist, because most of that framework is already there. I think that every artist is in it for the right reasons, but they just get very different guidance. And then I think that they also misjudge like what they're actually capable of. And so one thing that I always tell people is like, don't get really greedy about how much you can make in the primary market, like when you sell your collection, because it's actually a lot more valuable to make sure that all of your collectors make money like in the secondary market. And so I think that a lot of artists initially were just kind of giving it their best shot. And to be fair, it was a very Wild West territory. They were just selling like 15-second loops of like a song with like a GIF over it, which was all good,
But like on like the outside perspective, it just totally looks wrong.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because there's a lack of like consistent community and like a culture around it. Like if you're just selling like, a 15-second loop with no context around it, I don't think that these things need utility. I think that's really important to state. Like I think music is valuable because it's music and there's a limited quantity of them. But I think where it kind of dropped off was an artist that had no experience or touch point to Web3 would sell $1 million of GIFs and then be like, okay, now what? Versus today where it's like an artist is putting out a song and you're buying a collectible version of the song, and they're doing that in stride with like 100 other independent artists that are supporting them every step of the way. And it's a much more like communal spirit than, the first chapter of like musicians in Web3, which was just like land grab, cash grab, like, throw up whatever art you can, get a bag from Nifty Gateway, and then like peace out.
Well, you mentioned something interesting. You said that the focus is also to make sure the secondary market does well. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So when you buy an NFT, you're basically purchasing it off the primary market, which is when it's first offered or sold by the artist. And then after that collection sells out, you can trade that NFT on what's called the secondary market. So it's when people who are holding it are trading it amongst themselves. And so I think it's actually more important for artists to focus on how people trade it after the initial sale, rather than trying to maximize the amount of money they can make off the initial offering.
Because there is something where you can put royalties and percentages back to the artist, right? Could you explain that?
Explain the royalties, how they work.
So if I sell my NFT to you and you made the NFT, you're going to get a royalty back every time that I make a trade with someone. And so as an artist, every single time someone sells one of your NFTs to someone else, you're getting a small percentage of that. And so I think for creators out there, there's obviously value in trying to get a little bit of money up front for the NFTs that you're releasing. But most of the long-term value comes from encouraging your holders to hold these assets and trade them with one another, because you're always going to get residuals through the royalties on them.
What are some strategies to help that make it happen? Like how do you increase the value and perceived value of your secondary market?
Just consistency. I think the biggest thing that people, kind of get wrong is they just release one collection and then they just try and optimize for that one collection forever, and try and add like a huge roadmap and utility and whatnot. But the consistency of like being prevalent in the community, being prevalent with the culture, and like supporting others. I think the best way to make your collection increase in value is to go and support other people.
So tell me where you want to take this.
Yeah, so I mean, one thing that I'm spending a lot of time on is investing in artists. I think this is a fascinating concept.
What makes you, so when you look at an artist, what makes you curious to invest in them and what they're doing?
I like their music a lot, and I think they're going to be a lot bigger in the future.
Okay, so you just listen to a couple songs and you're like, oh, this is going to hit. They're going to hit.
Yeah, I mean, before I got into crypto, I was a journalist for a blog called This Song Is Sick. I was finding music on SoundCloud and like writing about it, reposting it, just like basically signaling that I knew artists were going to be bigger before they were. but there was never a way for me to get like exposure to their career. And so why I like music NFTs, if I find a song that I really like and there's music NFTs, I can buy a collectible version of that song, and in the event that it gets bigger and more valuable, I have exposure to that song's upside. And I think investing in artists is kind of the next step there, where if I want to say, I think this artist in general is going to pop off, not necessarily like one of their individual songs, I want to create vehicles that you can actually invest directly in that artist project.
What was your struggles doing this? On everything that you've been doing, what's been the biggest struggle?
Cooper's like, what struggles?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good life. It's a good life. No,
yeah, I mean, exactly. Like, it's definitely not easy what you're doing. It's not easy. Like, I mean, you're explaining it and everything like it's easy, but like, I don't think that would be easy. If I stepped in your shoes for like a week, I'd be like, holy shit.
I don't know. I mean, I'd say broadly that Web3 gets this rap that it's like some like crazy complicated technology, but it's not that deep. It's like you're just going and buying digital items and then like selling them when they're worth more in the future, you know? And like, I just happen to be doing that with music, but like people do that with art, people do that with fashion, like people do that with like finance tokens. Like, you know, I feel like one of the biggest things that I'm excited about is like getting over the hump where like doing NFTs and some like cool like new thing. It's just like, yo, these are NFTs, obviously, like these songs are MP3s, obviously, like it's not, you don't think about it when you're doing it, it just like is par for the course.
Yeah, for someone who is already famous in Web2, you're an artist, how do you get into Web3? I mean, we have case studies like Snoop Dogg, but also on the other side, we have someone like Chris Brown or like Justin Bieber. Like, what is the formula or recipe to, or the ingredients to, you know, getting into Web3?
Well, I think there's a difference between you just being a collector broadly and you trying to like monetize your artist project. And I think, you know, bigger artists that start as collectors and then grow into doing their own projects has typically worked a lot better. Like if you come to the space and you buy an NFT for someone, or you show up and you support someone that's already in the space natively, that to me is like a lot better signal than like coming out of the gate swinging with like a multi-million-dollar project. And so I would say just like finding the most minimum viable project that you can do that doesn't require you to make a lot of money, that doesn't require you to introduce an entire new ecosystem to your fans. Just like very, very low lift, easy things to give people a semblance of, you know, hope that you're going to do this consistently over a longer period of time. I think that's what I would say to bigger artists. But the reality is like bigger artists aren't getting into Web3, and I don't think that most of them care, especially now during a bear market. I think what's going to make them care is when the next generation of artists start popping off, they're going to want to fast follow once they see it working.
Nice. And you're part of that. You're like leading the way.
Hopefully.
So exciting to see
knock on
that.
wood.
So what do you in the next 5 years, where do you see this going?
I think you're going to be able to invest $5 into your favorite artist in the same way you would buy like Tesla stock or like ApeCoin.
I love how you keep things so simple.
Yeah.
Like most people, they'll just like go like so in deep and just say all these things, and you just get straight to the point, and you're very simple. So I just realized that about you, because there's not a lot of people that just are very simple and keep Web3 simple. Yeah. They just make it so complicated.
Yeah. That's what I was saying earlier, is like everyone says that Web3 is like this crazy new technology source, but it's like, yo, if I want to invest $5 into my favorite artist, I'm probably not going to go buy it on like the New York Stock Exchange. I'm probably going to buy it on like Uniswap.
Yeah. What is Uniswap?
It's a place to buy tokens. So like any cryptocurrency assets that you can think of is probably on Uniswap.
So if I'm an artist and I want to build my own tokens, what does that mean? Like, what can I do with tokenomics? What are some like case studies?
Sure. So I'd say the vast majority of tokens being issued by artists right now are NFTs. So it's just like a limited collection of songs or a limited collection of profile pictures, whatever you want to call it. But I think of tokens kind of more like equity in an artist brand. And so like after you've done a couple songs or after you've done a couple albums, if you want to give people exposure to your entire company, you know, it probably doesn't make sense to just keep issuing NFTs. Like you need a vehicle that represents your entire architecture, like everything from your streaming to your publishing to your touring to your NFTs. And so something like a token allows you to just have exposure to all those income streams and do it through one asset that is like very clearly meant to be a catch-all bet on an artist, rather than NFTs, which I think are better for like individual instances that are separated in themselves.
That's so exciting. Okay, so let's give an example. So I'm an artist. I decide to be an artist. I come up with a gummy bear token, right? And then I also have a gummy bear like NFT. Now, how do I mint, or how do I execute that? Like, let's walk through like step by step.
Yeah, well,
I would love to learn. Yeah, because what you
write down notes.
Yeah, because I'm like taking everything in what you're saying.
Chris is gonna be a next artist in Web3, so like let's take notes.
Mango on the beat.
I would say caveat, 99% of people listening to this should not issue a token. So let's just start there. That's like off the cuff. How I would do it in that case scenario is I would go to a site like Coinvise, which lets you just click a few buttons and make your own token. You can call it $Gummy, and then you can basically airdrop that token to all of your NFT collectors, and everyone that's collected one of your NFTs now is a part of your Gummy Bear token.
Wow, that's so cool. And you just when we talk about building community, what are some recipes for building a successful community?
Building the individual relationships amongst your members. So it's less about like what is your relationship with your collector. It's more about how do those collectors get to know one another and then recognize that they came together through your project.
Let's go on the background about how you got into the space and you personally.
Yeah, so I started collecting Pokemon cards in high school. I was just going on eBay and just buying people's childhood's Pokemon card collections and then like selling like the rare Charizard for like $100 type shit. And that was like my first experience like collecting any assets, and I think that's largely what NFTs look like. But to kind of expand that through line, I went to school to study music business. And so I was like going to concerts, discovering artists, and then I was selling hat pins, which is like these little token emblems for like different artist projects. Yeah. And that was like my first time like seeing that you could have a market around like music. And this was like 5 years ago before I'd ever heard about crypto in any way, shape, or form. Coming out of school, I got involved in like the whole ICO era, and I was basically just like, going to school for music business, and this is important. Like I was just driving Uber, I was doing delivery driving. Like it's not like I'm studying a PhD.
Where are you from?
I'm from Philadelphia, but I went to school out in Colorado.
Oh, you're from the East Coast.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm from Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So damn, you were driving Uber and
like fresh out of college, basically just like doing odd jobs here and there, like delivery driving, DoorDash, Uber, trying to figure out just how to like survive, frankly, because like I didn't really want to go into
from that perspective. Would you ever know if you asked yourself back then, you're gonna be this, you're gonna go from this to that? Would you ever have that like perspective, or would your old self be like, the hell no?
I mean, I think the exact format of it definitely is impossible to have seen, but like me working for myself on the things that I love when I love has always been like my through line. I think back at the time, like driving Uber and DoorDash and shit was a way for me to like sustain myself and make money. But the thing I liked about that was like I chose my own hours. I could just hop on the apps whenever I wanted. Like I was very much into this whole like gig economy future of work system. And even when I got into crypto, outside of me like taking the money I made from Uber to buy ETH, to buy like random ass tokens, like I was kind of just going out on different forums and being like, yo, if anyone needs help with their project, like I'm here for it, and raising my hand. And it's just kind of like Web3 really, optimizes for like this future of work economy, where if you just kind of like raise your hand, you're like, yo, like I got something to offer, like I'm down to show up 5 to 10 hours a week in a Discord, like you can kind of make a name for yourself. And that was like really my whole journey into the space, was like completely self-taught, like no guidance, no like mentors, no nothing.
Really?
It was like just hop on Twitter and just like browse different forums and just like kind of put yourself on game and like learn what was happening.
Work economy, that's beautiful. For shout out to all those Uber drivers out there. You could be where Coopah is at in just a few years. So thank you for sharing that. And also, where do you get your inspiration about music from? Is it your parents, or is it like where you grew up in Philly?
It's kind of what I developed my identity around. I was playing sports my whole life growing up, like really serious into basketball in high school, and then my senior year of high school.
I wouldn't doubt that. Like, dude, if you saw Coopah in real life,
6'9",
yeah, like 7'2".
Coopah is like this tall, like right here.
Yeah, I mean, I was very into competitive sports my whole life. Coming out of high school, I recognized that I wasn't going to the NBA, so I was like, all right, what do I want to do instead? And me and my friends started going to concerts. Just like having a great ass time, and just like being able to like meet people and like vibe out and stuff. And I don't know, when I went to Colorado, I kind of recognized I wanted to be like more into music. I didn't know what that took form of. Yeah, that was the first concert venue I like went to.
I'm gonna go, like, think in 2 weeks, like at the Red Rocks concert.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, I've been to Red Rocks like probably 150 times.
Holy crap.
Yeah,
that's a lot of time.
Cool.
I've probably been to like close to 1,000 concerts at this point in my life. Like I go to like a ton of shows. I'm literally going to like 3 shows tonight.
Oh my gosh.
What?
Well, okay, takeaway from Coopah. If you want to change your life, get inspiration, go to a concert.
That's facts. That's facts.
And
music changes.
And another concept. Just keep it simple. and just fucking go on Twitter and look at what people are doing in NFTs.
Yeah.
Basically what your overall summary is on how you get started.
I mean, I think the difficult part about that is knowing what to look at on Twitter, because if you just open the app,
that's what I was, because I mean, when I first got into NFTs, like I was like looking at Twitter and I didn't know where to go. I didn't know who the people to look. So
yeah, I was like, Chris, don't talk to him. Don't listen to this person.
I was like I was like asking Geummy, because I was like, is this person good? Is this like,
and
I didn't
even
know.
the conferences, like Chris was like being asked to speak on all these random conferences. Don't go there.
Yeah, I thank God I didn't speak at those conferences.
Yeah, space has changed a lot. I mean, like when I got in, there was probably like 10,000 people in the world that even like knew what crypto was. This is like early 2017. And so by that, there was just less people. Now there's way more people on Twitter, but I would say the best way to figure out like who to follow is like finding, your friends that are in the space and like Coopah. Trust their judgment. You know what I mean?
Or go to
follow Coopah and then go to his account. Yeah, just go.
It's not a bad idea.
Follow everyone who he follows.
Yeah. But I would say, generally, I think that right now during the bear market of, crypto, Web3, NFTs, whatever you want to call it, like this is when the good people are kind of like still hanging around. And granted, it's not all good people. Like some people are definitely NGMI, but like there's a lot better people on here now than there were like 3 months ago. And if you're going and you're looking at people that have like consistent engagement across like their tweets every day, the biggest thing I look for is like, is someone tweeting like pretty much every day? And when they are tweeting, is there like constantly other people that are like rallying behind them? And if there's like, people just showing up to listen to what that person says, like that's a good first step. I see like so many of these accounts that have like 100,000, fake followers on Twitter, and they post and it's like 3 likes, and it's like, like clearly this person doesn't know what they're talking about.
Like everyone can see that. Like I don't know why people do that.
I know in the artist world, a lot of them pay for their streams and they pay for their followers, and that's how like they get verification very easily, right?
I don't think the two are related, but people definitely pay for their followers for sure. Basically, here's what I think. If you're like someone that's going out here and trying to just like make a quick buck every day by like trading NFTs on like an allow list and trying to flip it the next day for like 100x, like you're 100 times more likely to get scammed than someone who's just like supporting an artist, buying like one of their music NFTs, or like, just kind of vibing. You know what I mean? It's like you almost like get the type of energy that you like ask for. And so I think a lot of people, when they do get scammed the first time, unfortunately, it's like they get greedy with like minting or like wanting to like, make a bunch of money, and then they just kind of get caught up because the scammer just like slides in when you least expect it. Then it's wake up call,
So invest in artists, because you never know, that NFT could be worth so much more. And another thing is like, we heard Duncan talk on NFT Now panel, and he talked about the passion gap and how so many people get into NFTs where they just want to buy something to make a quick buck or two, right? Yeah. And they want to flip. But there are a new wave of investors who want to buy NFTs because they actually love the art. And I think people don't realize that at the end of the day, what you're buying is pieces of art, it's pieces of music, it's a reflection of the creator. And, it's really like you have the opportunity to buy and support this creator and grow with the creator. Yeah. And I think that's super empowering in both ways.
You're like a Mark Cuban, and you're like a Mark.
There we go.
Don't sleep on Mark Cuban's portfolio.
Oh yeah, I was watching one of his podcasts with Nelk Boys, and holy crap. So are you gonna create a Web3 version of Shark Tank?
Maybe someday. I don't know.
You know how sick that would be? A Web3 version of it?
That would be so cool.
Yeah,
I watched
that. I pitched a lot for what it's worth.
Yeah, that
would be at least 15 times.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
I want to comment quickly on what Geummy was saying there. There definitely is a wave of collectors that are like super passionate about supporting artists. Like I would definitely love to put myself in that bucket, but I think it's important to recognize that like the amount of money that have the capacity to just support artists and expect nothing in return is extremely small. It's probably like 1% of all like collectors. So I think we need to recognize as a space that like most people do just want to buy something and make money off of it. Like that's just like a natural human emotion. And I think, if you're a project founder, I think you need to be conscious of like what you're promoting with your project. And if your goal is to like release NFTs and have them go up in value, like first of all, good luck, because I don't think that's a great way to look at it. But if that's what you're putting out there, like don't try and sell this like utopian vision of like, we have this crazy community ecosystem with all these tools and this roadmap and all these products. It's like, just call it what it is, and just be like, yo, like we have this cool collection. We have cool people collecting them, and like if you make some money, good on you,
Yeah.
So you're saying like when they're more transparent, like just being honest, that's when your focus is more like, okay, I respect what you're doing, because you're not saying, oh, we got this, that, and this. You're just say, let's just fucking be honest.
Yeah, I mean, just call it for what it is, you know? And I think that like we need some of that mentality for the space to move forward. Like we're not going to get new people into space by it just being like fine art collectors and people that just want to support the artists. Like that's the North Star. That's what happens after you go through the whole wave and you like see some success and you learn what's going on. You're like, okay, now I'm giving back. I'm just like collecting these pieces to support these artists, to propagate the culture. And that's been around for generations. Like there's a great book on the Medici family and like early Italy, and this is how they, you know, incubated this whole ecosystem of art and like these cathedrals and stuff.
What's your favorite book?
Untethered Soul.
Untethered Soul?
Literally just reading that right now.
I don't know what that book is.
Yeah.
It's the one that I have by my, like, you know, it's a light one. The one that Jenny said, it's like changed her life.
Yeah.
That like I brought it to like the sauna.
Oh yeah, I remember it. What do you have a book that changed your life?
The Untethered Soul, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, mine is The Drug of Choice.
Nice.
Nice.
Oh my God, check it out. You guys, if anyone's listening right now, that's the book that literally changed my entire life.
Yeah. Book NFTs, let's go.
Yes, book it. Yes.
I mean, it's a good segue. So people ask me a lot, like, what do I think is coming next for Web3? Like, what's the next bull market, et cetera? And my take on that is like tokenized media. So I think like in the last bull market of NFTs, we made Bored Apes, we made PFPs, we did DAOs, like all this kind of like weird, quirky Web3 shit that never existed before. My take on the next bull market is like, we're just going to start collecting tweets or Instagram posts or TikToks or vlogs or YouTube videos or whatever it might be. And I think the name of the game is basically like you being able to identify viral content earlier on and have a collectible version of that in the form of an NFT. If you're able to create viral content or if you're able to identify viral content and then collect that, I think we're going to have this really cool market where like your street cred is like directly correlated to like your capacity to invest in like NFTs.
100%. Wow.
Wow, that was deep.
Yeah.
How do you balance your work life? You know, because especially in Web3, it's always like nonstop. There's so much happening in a short period of time.
Yeah, we're always curious because in Web3, everyone's working around the clock all the time. So, I mean, we always ask everyone that comes on because everyone has a different work-life balance. And how is your work-life balance?
Yeah, I mean, I'll break it down. I wake up and I meditate, and then I do calls from like 9 to 6, and then I meditate again, and then I go hang out with some friends, and I come back and I write content.
9 to 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
When you say meditate, can you explain a little bit more? Do you use like an app or?
Just peaceful meditation playlist on Spotify. I just have this like dope Herman Miller chair that I chill in my room and just like zen out for like 10 minutes and just like get my mind straight.
Yeah.
And then just like rip a bunch of back-to-back Zoom calls. It's pretty good. For me, you know, like fashion has just always been a new form of culture, you know, like whether it's music or art or fashion or whatever it is, it's just a way to like create an identity around yourself. And I just really love this idea of like knowing these different brands, knowing these different collaborations they had, and then being able to participate in that culture by wearing the clothes that I thought looked cool and also are extremely, extremely comfortable.
I think that's a wrap. You know,
I
you gotta go, right?
Yeah, I mean, shout out Fred again. We're going to see him at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery tonight. This guy's popping off right now. No music NFTs yet from Fred again, but you know, we'll check back in a couple years and see what's up. But closing thoughts, I would say, if you want to learn more about what I'm working on, I write a weekly newsletter called This Week in Music NFTs. It's free to subscribe. It takes 5 minutes to read it. It's everything that I'm following in the space. And yeah, like you mentioned, Twitter is my primary platform at Coopah. And then for those of you who are in Web3, I run a fund called Coop Records. And if you're working on something, I would love to hear about what you're building.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Well, thanks so much, Coopah. I actually learned a lot. Like,
love it.
Wow.
Glad to hear it.
Thanks. Well, Mango out.
Gummy out.
Coop out.
Peace out.
Okay.